today?
I'm cold. How are you?
Freezing. This is not fun.
This is awful. Yesterday afternoon, I was sitting on my porch and it was 71 degrees.
Oh my God,
fabulous.
it was beautiful.
And this is ridiculous.
I'm glad. So I almost made the fatal decision. I'm going to call it fatal because I thought it's 77. I can go get a six-pack and sit on this deck, but it was 1 o'clock, and I'm like, you're only going to get a couple of minutes of feeling like this until you just run back inside anyway.
Yeah.
So I abstained. I was proud of myself.
I went out. I didn't have a six-pack of beer, but I sat on the front porch and just soaked in what sun there was and the warmth because I knew today was coming. So,
how are things at the library?
Great. They're really good. We just got our next newsletter out, so we're gearing up for the new year and all the new programs. So everything's going really well.
Well, and I like our segments because we do the front and back end, so whatever we don't cover or whatever we need more time for, we can do. And this is what is so cool is you guys are already going to be busy starting off the new year from what I saw.
We are. So the next newsletter covers January, February, March. And so we've got, for everybody that received it in the mail, if you didn't receive it, we always keep copies at the library. So if you misplace your copy or you don't get it, if you're maybe not in our district but you still want to know what's going on, you can come pick one up at the library or you can go on to HaynerLibrary.org. We have a PDF of the newsletter on there. So the next newsletter, like I said, covers January, February, March, and we started out with the article about, potentially considering a new building. We wanted to make sure that we were as transparent as possible and put that in there for anybody that may not have seen it on your show.
A lot of people saw it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people saw it, but if they didn't, on your show and in the other local media that we've been talking with, so that information is there, and it might be towards the end of March a little more out of date because we're going to keep moving forward with this project as best we can. So some things will change, but people can always check our website for information and, just call the library and ask for information too if you're interested in knowing what's going on. But that was kind of wanted to make sure everybody had that information as current as we could make it. So,
well, and that's really important because this is a big deal. I mean, it really is.
It's a huge deal. We've been in the same buildings that we're currently in since the 1980s when we opened, mid-80s, 85, I believe, when we opened the mall library, when it was a really small little branch upstairs. So this is a big deal to potentially, maybe making changes to that. So we just want to make sure everybody was up to date on that.
Well, and too, like you said, there's really good information in there, like, what the plus and minuses are of spaces, and really good vital stuff that really helps, I think.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure we included that, and then like I said, we've got our programs that are coming up. So kind of just some things right out of the box in January. In fact, I've got some sitting on my desk at work. Everybody, when you were putting up your holiday lights, whether it was Halloween, I know a lot of people decorate for Halloween, Christmas, any kind of holiday lights that you might have, or any kind of outdoor string lights, patio lights. I've got, we went to put our Christmas lights out and we had 5 strands that didn't work. And it was like, oh, come on, just from last year. I know. So, but, I didn't want to throw them in a landfill. So we actually have a holiday outdoor recycling, light recycling, and that's going to take place the whole month of January. So if you've got any of those lights that you really don't want to throw away, you want to make sure they get recycled, you can drop those off at the downtown library, the Alton Square Library, starting Friday on January 2nd. And the whole month we'll collect those, and while supplies last, if you drop off your lights, we have a bookmark that you'll get for participating in that. So we kind of start out with that in January.
That's really cool. Now, what did I see here on your newsletter about some of these stats? Because you had a lot of things. 210 physical items. Is that always in there?
We have we have about 210,000 physical items in the library collection. I didn't realize that you had
those stats in your newsletter.
Yeah, so we put those in the because I kind of wanted people to know when I was writing this article, exactly what goes into the library building and what goes on kind of on an annual basis as far as circulation.
I'm sorry to go back to that.
Please do. Yeah, we have about 200. We actually have about 210,000, 215,000 because it fluctuates because, we have to make room for new things. So we get rid of old things that aren't circulating to make room for the new. So that number's always kind of in flux, but usually between about 210, 215,000 items in the collection.
Well, and too, I think it's cool that you're starting off January with just a nice little, come in, gift as well with it being National Tea Month.
National Hot Tea Month. So we really love tea at the library. A lot of us are tea drinkers. So we thought this was kind of fun.
I didn't know about this. There's like a such thing as like a tea snob and all these things. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know the passion.
Yep. And there's a lot of us that love tea. And so January is National Hot Tea Month. So we thought, well, with the weather like it is today, so starting in January, so you can swing by the library and you can get cozy bookmark, and it has a little tea bag attached to it. So you can pick up your tea bag and your bookmark at the library, and then maybe find a new book to read. We just had a couple of new displays that we put up. One is hockey. So
cool.
We could pick up a book on hockey if you want. We just put up a new display on books of the future and books that take place in the future and books that take place in the past. So, we've got kind of curated displays too for people that are looking for something new to read.
Do you know what I noticed, seriously? Is there's a lot of people that have are starting to go back to like the old, like not old, I don't want to say old way of doing things, but like just Black Friday this year was crazy. And all the people that were actually out shopping at the malls, like they had to close down ramps on by West County.
Really?
On Black
that's
Friday.
Interesting.
It was crazy.
That is interesting.
So it's just interesting to me. Like I could really see this becoming more of a thing, where you come in and really are excited to find those next type of books.
Yeah.
And having them like that's really neat.
Yeah, and in February we have Blind Date with a Book display, which is really kind of fun. Yeah, so we take a bunch of different books, a whole bunch of different genres, and we wrap them up, and we just put like maybe a couple of keywords on the cover. Mm-hmm. So you're like, maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. You don't really know what it is. You're totally going in blind. And so we'll have a display of that. So if people are looking for books to read and maybe they want some suggestions, you can come into the front desk. You can ask the staff. We have databases, and we have a novelist database, so you can put in the authors that you like or the types of books that you like to read, and it'll come up with new authors for you. And then you can try this Blind Date with a Book program too, see if you like that.
I think it's so, but it's really fun though for everybody that you guys can get creative with this and really do just some really unique things with it. And also there's going to be some cold weather crafts I see in your newsletter. Fill me in.
We have cold weather crafts. So one of the biggest things that the kids love to do at the library are the crafts with our story times. So all of our crafts are you come in to do story time, and there's usually a craft that's associated with it that's based on the theme of the book that we read in story time, and it's just another way to help kids with their fine motor skills and, cutting and coloring and reading the instructions and listening to instructions. And so what we've found is the adults that are with them really love also helping them make those crafts. And people are stuck in their houses when it's this cold outside. There's really not a lot to do. So you can stop by the library and pick up a cold weather craft at the circulation desk at the Alton Square Mall at the beginning of each month. It's it's geared towards adults.
Yeah.
So you just come in, the whole craft is kind of in a kit. You come and just pick it up, and you could take it home, and that's in January and February at the beginning of each month, while supplies last. Swing by and pick it up.
You know what's how quickly we get bored, with everything we have.
Yeah,
so to have something like this too that you can rely on once a month to do is cool.
Yeah, well, and what's fun is too, a lot of these things are designed too. When you're in there, the hope is that you'll take a look. You're like, oh, well, I'm here, let me browse, and you'll find something new in the collection that you maybe didn't know that we had, or like I said, a new author, or run into somebody that it's a way to get people in the library too.
I love this. And now the little art show is going to have an exhibition, correct?
We are.
Or closing reception.
Yeah, we'll have an exhibition at Jacoby Art Center. Okay. So during the month of October and November, people could come in and pick up these tiny little, I think they were like 4x4 canvases. They were really, really small, and they could create them art on them any way they wanted to.
I saw a couple of pictures of them. They were neat.
Yeah, they're really neat. And so people are really creative. So they could drop those off at Jacoby Art Center. They could pick up the canvases at the library and then return them to Jacoby Art Center. And so the exhibition will take place December through February. They're on display at Jacoby Art Center. And then in March, they're going to come back to the library, and we're going to have the exhibition at the library throughout the month of March. And then we'll have But right before we bring them to the library, there'll be a closing reception at Jacoby Art Center on Friday, February 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. And everybody's welcome to come to that. Wow. And you can view all of this art. Yeah.
How many do you think you guys got out? Because there was a lot of participation.
There was a lot of participation of people that came in, and because they returned them to Jacoby, I'm not sure how many got returned. I know my niece did 2 of them, so I know there's at least 2. But no, I think they got a really good response to it, and people were super creative with it too. We did see a couple of ones that people were working on. Some people like flipped it over and used the back of the canvas and made like a little shadow box out of it.
Oh, wow.
Just really creative things. So that's going to take place, like I said, at Jacoby, December through February, closing reception at Jacoby on Friday, February 6th, and then we'll have the exhibition at the library for the month of March at the Alton Square Library.
Also, mark your calendars for January 17th at 10 a.m. The Armenian immigration to Granite City in the early 20th century with Norma Asadorian is going to be really, really interesting, I feel like, to talk about and really learn about, too.
Yeah, it's so, this is part of the Reimagining Places of the Past. It's a historic preservation lecture series. So these take place on Saturdays, one in January, one in February, and one in March. The first one is January 17th at 10 o'clock at the Genealogy and Local History Library. And Norma's going to be coming in and talking about, there's a huge influence from the Armenian culture in Granite City. And so, we're focusing, because we do have a lot of local history information in the Genealogy and Local History Library that's Madison County related, not just Alton. So if people are looking for information countywide, you can come see us too. And this was part of it. We just thought this would be a really interesting talk. She's going to talk about people who settled in the Lincoln Place neighborhood in Granite City and the influence of the Armenian culture on that community. So
there's a lot. Just things like that. I mean, you're full all month. I'm just going through your newsletter. I mean, it starts like there's self-care with Eileen that happens with laughter yoga, 10 to 11 a.m. at the Performance Room at Hayner, but also like winter reading retreat with love. That'll be January the 16th.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool, too. Now, is this going to be more Valentine's Day themed?
So this is going to be like, you can make either your own felt heart coaster or a Valentine card. And so this is kind of back to that whole library as a community meeting place.
Yeah.
Kind of, making things that because people really like making something they can take home with them. And then also meeting with other people. This is also a place where we have, if you're looking for something new to read, we pull a bunch of materials too and have them in that room. So this is at the Mall Library, January 16th. This is an adult winter reading retreat. And so you make the craft. We have some refreshments, like warm, we usually have coffee and tea. And, you can meet with other people. And we have people that come to this all the time, and it's kind of a fun thing. It's a Friday night. They bring their friends and they come and get to make these crafts. We supply everything. And then they kind of talk about their favorite writers and their favorite authors, their favorite books. So it's good. It's a good night.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And now there's also something I wanted to talk about, because I know that you're coming on again Monday. The Ghost Next Door is probably going to be full before the end of the... Those things
always fill up
so fast.
It's funny because Alton has this reputation as being like the most haunted small town in America. And so when we started this, we started it as a program just in October, Halloween, kind of a way to talk about local history and, bring that spooky aspect into it, because people do like hear about it. And the response was absolutely overwhelming. So we thought, this is a really great way to focus on the history of some of the places in Alton, and you kind of use that hook of, is it haunted? Is it not haunted? So this one is going to take place on Thursday, January 29th from 7 to 8 at the Genealogy and Local History Library. And this one is the history of the Milton Schoolhouse.
Oh,
so we'll talk
cool.
about the Milton Schoolhouse. And then we'll also talk with Marlene Lewis from Alton Odyssey Tours. And they're going to be coming and talking about paranormal experiences that also happened in there too. So it's a really great way, if you're into the paranormal, to come and have a good time. And if you're into the history of Alton, you can come and learn about the history too. So it's kind of a double feature.
Really cool. What else should we talk about for now?
So we've got all kinds of stuff coming up. We've got some Valentine's Day things. We've got something coming up in February, so I know we'll talk about it before then. But the Vintage Voices. They're going to be they're calling themselves the Vintage Voices Players, and they're going to be coming and talking about the Lovejoy legacy. So we had a Lovejoy program in November at the library that we were, I thought it would be well attended, and we were trying to find chairs.
Yeah, it was really
so
busy.
well attended. And so, obviously Lovejoy, the history of Lovejoy is something that Alton, is famous for, or infamous for. And so we were bringing this back. So these are all of the people associated that have given Vintage Voices presentations over the years that have some sort of attachment to Lovejoy. So we're bringing them all together, and they're going to give first-person portrayals of individuals connected to Lovejoy. So we have Celia Lovejoy. We have somebody who's playing Celia Lovejoy, his widow, William Scotch Johnson, a free black man who secretly buried Lovejoy's body, Amanda Kitchell Chavers, whose freedom was secured, or Shavers, I'm sorry, whose freedom was secured when Alton citizens united to purchase it, Thomas Dimmick, who led the effort to build the Lovejoy Monument, and Isaac Kelly, who was the first official Lovejoy grave trustee. So these are going to be a really great way to enjoy. I think you bring the kids, because this is a really great way to learn the history of Lovejoy in a non-stuffy setting. So these are people that are going to be recreating these individuals' lives.
Well, and to really learn about your local history too, and that's what really is important.
Well, and really, with Lovejoy, some people say that his murder was the first shot in the Civil War, even though it was 30-something years before. So it's really, it's a story that has nationwide and really, international consequences. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Mary, we'll be talking again on Monday, and that's why I love that we're able to do a little bit of a preview today, and just can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you accommodating my time change.
Oh, not a problem at all.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, and we'll learn all about the fun happening in Grafton, and then we'll say so long after that on RiverBender.com. Roku